I have been constantly assumed to be I don't even know how to describe it, but like there's always these unrealistic expectations for me, and I don't understand why. I just don't get it. I've I don't like to complain to people all the time about my issues because I don't have to wear my issues, my health issues, for people to have mercy. Like, what is up with that? Can't you have mercy on someone without them having to explain to you what they're going through or what they've been through or anything at all? What is up with this non-inclusive approach and behavior with people? When you talk to a person, there's no reason to assume this person has not gone through the worst in their life. I don't understand why this is not being applied. If you're talking to anyone at all, please assume they've lost someone, they've been raped. Just think of the worst thing possible and apply it to the person you're talking to if you don't know anything about them. If you do, that's different. But if you don't, then truly, like, beware with how you treat people. Because assuming, not considering the worst is uninclusive and unsafe. When you consider the worst, you also consider the best case scenario. The worst case scenario includes the best case scenario. But when we assume the best, we're excluding the possible and probable worst scenario that is most likely what's happening. Once again, I don't need to tell people over and over what I've been through or what people have been through in order to have any form of bare minimum respect and approach. Treat everyone like a miracle, and everyone surviving is a miracle right now. It's so annoying. This also applies to, it's basically like the saying better safe than sorry. Like, once again, the logical thing is that when you take into consideration the worst thing that could happen, that's the safest route. That doesn't limit you in any way, that doesn't do anything other than prevent the worst route from happening to the best degree. So like, I don't understand when it comes to anything at all. To consider the worst case scenario is to be the most inclusive you can be. How can I give another example? I'm gonna pause. Oh, but I think this thing stops. Let me think of an example of this again. In speech, let's say, let's say you drew the assumption that this person clearly doesn't know how to enforce their boundaries. Okay, let's say you've made that assumption, or you've inferred that. If you've inferred this, I'm assuming you've discussed with the person their relationship with boundaries before you approach them, and that you would consider that, and that if not, then if you don't know anything about this person, noticing that they are clearly don't know how to enforce their boundaries is a nice thing to share. However, how you share that with them is so important, because this person may have gone through a lot because of not knowing what boundaries are, not having learned how to enforce them. They could have literally maybe survived death many times due to the bare fact that they aren't so good with boundaries and they didn't have the privilege of learning about it or applying it. So if you approach them and you condescend them or mock them for having a hard time applying their boundaries, then that's triggering a survivor, and like, Again, just be inclusive. Consider the worst case scenario. Just be inclusive. Thank you for listening.